I used to think people who talked about guilt were weak, people too soft to survive the reality of corporate life, where everything has a cost, and the only rule that really matters is to make your number. For 7 years, I worked in what's called internal compliance for a major health insurance provider. That's a clean way of saying I was the guy who found legal ways to deny dying people their claims. Cancer drugs, organ transplants, long-term disability support. My job was to comb through paperwork and find a missed signature, a late form, a poorly worded diagnosis. I could void a claim with a few keystrokes, and once it was voided, most people didn't fight it. They couldn't afford the time, the energy, or the lawyer. But it didn't start like that. I wasn't always this man. I was 42 when my life began to unravel. My ex-wife called me a loser right before vanishing with her new lover, a bartender 10 years younger who drove a motorcycle and posted shirtless photos on Instagram. She took what little was left of our shared savings and didn't look back. I was jobless after a round of unexpected layoffs, and my unemployment checks weren't enough to keep the lights on. The bank sent warnings. The landlord stopped smiling. The cupboards went emptier every week. And then there was Nathan, my son, 4 years old, frail, sick all the time, in and out of urgent care, ear infections, hives, respiratory problems, mysterious food allergies that sent us rushing to the ER more than once. The medical bills were crushing. I would sit up at night and listen to him wheeze in his sleep, praying it would pass, praying I wouldn't have to choose between groceries and another copay. I loved him more than I loved anything in this world, and he needed me. He needed me to be strong, to be capable, to provide. I took the job in insurance compliance because I had no choice. It was that or the street. At first I was careful, cautious. I agonized over every denial. I'd pause with my finger above the button, thinking about what this person might be going through, how much they needed help. But then I saw my paycheck, my bonuses, the performance incentives. I started to understand just how profitable it was to say no, and slowly the lines began to blur. I used to keep a little spreadsheet on the side where I'd track how much money I saved the company. We were required to do that, but I liked seeing the total tick up. I liked knowing that while the world burned and cried and begged, I was the guy holding the line. At first it was survival, then it was control, then it became something else. It became pleasure. When the conglomerate bought us and ushered in the extended oversight protocol, I was already numb. I was already cold. Carla called me into her office, handed me the new assignment like it was routine. No team, no oversight, just a private folder on the intranet. Edge case claimants, the ones draining the system. Richard Leung was the first. Stage 2 liver failure, no family. 3 appeals already denied. The system prompted me, deny. I clicked, and then came the video. The camera zoomed in on his front door, then cut to black. When I saw his obituary days later, I should have been horrified, but I wasn't. Not really. I told myself it was coincidence, that I was imagining things. But with each new case, the evidence mounted. Emilia Stinson, William Harrow, Lena Ortiz, they all died, quietly, neatly, always within 72 hours of the denial, always natural causes, and the feeds got worse, each one more intimate, more grotesque. The creature that moved through the rooms, always the same, lanky limbs, head tilted, patient and precise. It didn't break in, it didn't need to, it entered like it belonged. At first I tried to resist. I told myself this wasn't real, that something had gone wrong. I tried unplugging, deleting files, reporting it to IT, but the file always returned. Red icon, blinking, waiting. Then the names got closer. My landlord, the cashier at the grocery store, a friend from college, people from my life, people I could rationalize. The system gave me a choice once, a blank file, my own address, one substitute, one name. I chose someone, a high school bully, a man who mocked me once during lunch period and laughed while I cried in the bathroom. That was all the justification I needed. From that moment on, everything changed. The money poured in, promotions, a private office, performance reviews that glowed with praise. Carla smiled like she used to, all sharp teeth and smooth lies. And I began to change in ways I can't fully explain. I started to enjoy it. I stopped seeing people. I saw costs, liabilities, drains on the system. There was one woman, maybe 35, a single mother of 2, breast cancer diagnosis. She'd submitted a heartfelt appeal with photos of her children, drawings they'd made for her hospital room. I didn't even blink. I clicked deny, leaned back, and sipped my coffee while the feed opened. The figure was already there, waiting. One man wrote a desperate letter, explaining that he'd been diagnosed with a rare blood disease and had only 6 months without treatment. He'd sold his car, maxed out every credit card, and was begging for one more chance. The system flagged him as high cost. I clicked deny. I didn't read the rest. Another claimant was a Vietnam veteran, PTSD, chronic illness, struggling with homelessness. He had one shaky signature on the wrong line. I used that to reject the entire file. That night, the feed showed him sitting in a shelter, staring blankly as the figure stepped through the wall behind him, and I started to crave that moment. That 1 second when I hovered over the button, that raw power, the sensation of holding a life in my hand and extinguishing it like it meant nothing. I began to dress better, bought a new car, upgraded my apartment. Nathan had everything he needed: private doctors, experimental treatments, round-the-clock care. The money solved every problem, but not all of them. Because every now and then I'd hear a whisper at the edge of my thoughts, a scrape against the floor in the dead of night, a shadow behind the mirror. I'd sit in silence and feel something watching me, not just watching, evaluating. The worst part is this: I know I will never stop, because this isn't about survival anymore. It's about what I've become. I relish this power. I enjoy the luxury, the control, the opulence built on the bones of the desperate. I've accepted that I am a monster, that I wear a tie and sit behind a desk, and somewhere out there a figure waits for my decision. Sometimes I look at Nathan and wonder what he'll think of me when he grows up, what he'll do when he finds out what I've done to keep him safe and healthy, what I've sacrificed, who I've sacrificed. But he's alive. That's what I tell myself. He's still alive. And I know one day the file will come again. My name, my address, no substitute, no escape. And when it does, I hope Nathan never sees what I saw, never hears the soft scrape behind the door, never feels the cold shadow passing through the room. But if he does, maybe he'll understand. Maybe he'll remember how much I loved him. Maybe that will be enough. Until then, I'll keep clicking, because I've learned to live with it. And I am very, very good at my job.